Hello everyone, welcome to another Wolfram language design review about graphics. And let's see what we've got. All right, where do we start here?
So I think the two interesting sections are the V15.1 items and the future items. And the V15.1 items is,
Okay,
the,
can I
the
raise a
initial
couple
list
of
that
points?
Roger and I came up with of things that
Yeah, okay,
we're especially interested in.
listen, I want to raise some immediate points about all this stupid headroom and spacing and so on.
Yep.
Have we resolved this or have we not resolved it?
We have not resolved it.
Then we need
There
to
is work
work
that
on it.
has
We
been
need
done
to,
on it.
okay, so let's get it resolved because that's, come on, guys. I mean, what are we doing here? Oh, I need to do frame.
When you
Okay.
say, is it for grids only you're talking
No,
about,
no, no,
or
no. It's
everything?
especially for these,
Not enough
extreme
headroom.
aspect ratio ones.
Okay. We talked about this before. We needed a
That's
solution.
fine. It's a corner detail. Great. Go on.
It's not a corner detail. It
Yes.
makes graphics not look reasonable in
Fine.
this case.
Fine.
So when is it going to get resolved?
Okay.
When is it going to get resolved?
This cycle, during the 15.1 cycle.
All right, fine. Fine. Do you think you know all the cases that have to be dealt with? So I think there's some other cases. I think there's some things
So what
plot
happens
label.
is, sorry, go ahead.
Plot label. I think there are a bunch of things there. Okay. I think there are a
Yes.
bunch of things with it, the inconsistency between the amount of space there, the amount of space there, and so on. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just a thing to be resolved. So let's make sure it's on the agenda so that we don't.
It is on the agenda.
Okay. All right. Fine. Okay. Let's dive into this.
Is that ready for review? No, it's
I mean,
not.
they're not ready for review. This is more roadmap, sorts of things. There's nothing specific
Is this being
review.
broadcast?
Yes.
Hmm.
I mean, a lot of the things here, have
This
been
may or may not
broadcast
happen.
previously.
Okay.
Right.
What do you mean? I mean, are you asking, does it make
No,
sense to do these?
I'm not promising this. If it's broadcast, there's no promise yet. We need to get closer to the final release.
Yeah, I mean, we're not. Which version it's in, who knows? But I want to understand, are these functions that we're trying to make?
Yes.
I know, I don't know what mosaic plot means.
Well, go to the page, the source page.
There's a ref guide.
It's a way to describe, to visualize high-dimensional categorical distributions.
Okay.
Multivariate categorical histogram.
It's a standard.
Oh, these things. Yeah, I know these things.
Right. Also known as Marimekko plots and, other things.
We can't use that. That's a trade
Well,
name.
No, I'm just saying that,
But so explain to me what what determines the size of those things?
So that's
the
part
size
of what's
is
not
determined by count.
well. In terms of use cases and explanations, that's what's not there yet. That's why it did not ship in 15.0.
Okay. How does it relate to oh my gosh, what's it called?
Tree map plot.
No. The oh my gosh, what is it called? The thing where you just put together a bunch of images. Image
collage.
Image collage. Thank you.
I mean, not really. I mean, image collage, I don't really think of it as a quantitative thing. And this is, I mean, the sizes have meanings and the structure has meanings. Right. So, it's a very specific layout type of thing.
Okay. Well, these are all look like great things to have. What do we ever care about chloropleths and these things?
I think eventually we should. Or sorry, wait, chloropleths.
What's
Those
that?
are those distorted maps.
No, those aren't chloropleths.
No. Oh, I thought they were called that.
Chloropleth is region value plot. Oh, sorry, georegion
Oh.
value plot.
Oh, okay, fine. But what about
Um,
those things where you distort?
and
Well,
I'm
it's
drawing
not
a
the
blank
most
now
important.
on their name.
Okay. Well, these are. I mean, I look forward to these things. Is there anything we need to talk about? What?
You know what's really funny, Stephen?
Yeah.
You had the wrong name, but I was still thinking of the thing that you were thinking of.
Yes. Possibly because it isn't actually completely the wrong name, and people do call them that. They're a special case of that, I think. Um. Anyway, okay. Is there anything we need to talk about these right now?
I don't think so. I mean, these are, today's discussion will be, sort of meta, looking wide rather than
All right. Okay. So just so I
as
understand,
deep.
you know, radial axis, whatever. What are we calling them?
Radial axis plot,
Yeah. And what's the horizontal one of those?
parallel axis plot.
Oh, okay. I have not found myself using those things,
And I
even
mean, and
though.
that's fine. I mean, so
And which of these plots? I mean, supporting, for example, tabula, just plot this multidimensional tabula. What's the best way to do that? Is there a way to do that? Is there a function I can take some tabula with 8 columns and just say plot this?
I mean, in terms of like having a tabular with 8 columns and having something that can just plot all 8 columns, where the types are sort of all over the place per column.
No,
The radial axis, parallel axis plots are probably the best.
or pairwise.
Well, I mean, but like, pairwise is okay if,
The problem with
everything's quantitative. If you
one
have
big challenge,
categorical columns and date columns
yes,
and,
but in
then
principle,
something
it's
like the
doable.
parallel axis plot is the best bet.
God, I still have not used this. When did we introduce this? This is like 2
A
versions
couple
ago.
versions ago.
Have you used this?
Not a lot, no.
Do we have
So
examples of tabulars
there's a
here?
big difference
Yeah.
between tabular and time series. So in
Yeah.
tabular, there is not typically like an independent variable. So you have to view it as a relational model, you know,
Yes.
and so then how do you visualize a very high dimensional relational model? And maybe it's in funky spaces too, but let's say it all is numeric even. How do you do that? Um, and this is one that can do it, where you basically do 2D projections.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I have
And,
a problem
and
specifically.
parallel
Yeah.
axis plot is another one, and radial axis plot is yet another one, which is a relational way, model, way to visualize relations. But there's a question of how you interpret them and how do you get information out and what's their best use case. And
Right.
we did spend some time with these pairwise to describe that, how you can read different properties out. We need to go back and do that for parallel axis plot and radial axis plot, because the more exotic the plots, the question is how you decode them and
Yeah.
sort of read information out becomes more challenging.
Okay. So there's a missing C also, which is feature space plot, which should
Yeah.
point at this, and these it should
Yes.
point at these.
Absolutely. And it's there. If you go to the guide page, there's a guide page for high dimensional visualization. If you go to the corresponding guide page here,
Yeah.
there's a high dimensional, and you can see, um,
Yeah. This feature space plot is on there.
right.
That's good, but I think it should be on the pages because I think that's the
Okay.
um. Yeah, it's a good page. Okay. Onward.
Right. So one of the, big things, that we're working on is updating, the scene languages to have more flexibility with the axes and frames. This is where plot label goes to placed of, something comma somewhere comes.
Yep.
Um,
Somebody was asking me if I knew how
We're
to.
going to do a lot of reviewing on this, Stephen. You're going to have a lot of valuable opinions, and
Okay.
yeah,
All right, fine.
about
I mean,
that.
this is all sensible, and I mean, we should just, yeah. How do you make a different scale on the x-axis and the y-axis? I don't know how to do that.
Well, for the plot functions, it works. For graphics, it doesn't.
How do you do it for the plot functions?
The
Scaling functions?
scaling functions.
Or is that not what you meant?
No, it probably is what I meant. I mean, I think, okay, so let's say here, I want to have a different scale labeled on the left-hand side and the right-hand side.
Oh, that's different.
There's multiple axes.
Right, that's multi-axis arrangement and is only in list plot, list line plot, sorts of things right now.
Yeah.
But as part of the scene stuff, I think we should be able to roll that out farther and have it be a more comprehensible thing of controlling what goes where and how you deal with it and whatnot. Because part of the scene updates that we're working on, breaks the normal restriction that graphics only has two axes by default. That it becomes easier to say, here's a set of axes that I want in my scene, and referring to those.
So, yeah. All right.
So part of the array plot stuff is most definitely not for, well, some of it may go into 15.1, but the overall project is the deeper array dimension, things that Roger's interested in. And
really, I mean, is this a good idea to flatten things? I mean, you don't
it
actually
won't
mean
necessarily.
flattening. You mean
So
having
the flattened
scenes
thing
there.
won't necessarily be array plot. It may end up being a different thing, related, function. But
I mean, it's like if I take ArrayPlot 3D, for example, and I want to show it slices, I could show it slices on,
right, you could take an input that was array plot 3D, and instead of getting a cube, you would get a flat array.
But you could just have a row of the slices.
Exactly.
Or if you had a 4D thing, you could have a
a matrix of the slices, or exactly.
Yes, that's fine. It seems reasonable. I mean, I don't think it's the most important thing in the world, but it seems useful.
It's one of those things where, like, as you have more dimensions in your data, the number of visualizations that you have available to you gets smaller.
Very.
Sure.
And so.
No, I can see this for tensors. I can see this being useful for tensors.
Right.
Having an immediate kind of tensor plot or some such other thing.
Right. And one of the things that relates to this is sort of getting labeling and highlighting of array plots caught up with other areas.
Yeah, that would be nice. A highlightable array plot would be nice.
Yes.
I mean, okay. Okay. Should I look at this little project list here?
I mean, there's things in there that you care about, obviously.
Yes,
well, I mean,
okay. So
everything in there you've cared about at some point. So
absolutely. Zoomable, panable version of list plot. I consider that important. I know it's a fair amount of tooling, fair amount of development. I think we should do it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep going here. Composite plots. What does that even mean?
So that's building up. I'm starting with a
that's
list
a
plot, and I'm
generalization of
putting
plot
a
grid.
histogram on an edge, and
Oh, I see, that kind of thing. Yes, that would be nice to have.
There's a lot of unused space in the staging arena. So the walls in 3D and the axis, the 1D plots that you can have in 2D and so on. So those are basically more information rich
No, I
plots.
think that's good. Supporting units, my gosh, do we still not do that?
I mean, we do, but there are
It's
gaps.
a forever thing. It's like endless. It's like,
And
you know,
We
like
should
one of the
ask an
things,
LLM where we do and don't support units. I bet it can tell us very easily.
right? But there's other things like, which is the ergonomics of units. Like we would like to not have units in every tick label.
Absolutely.
Okay. You want to
Yeah.
be able to pull those out, but you
Absolutely.
don't want to pull them out. So you overwrite what the user wrote for access label.
Yeah,
Say,
I get it. I get it. I get it. We need both of those things. We need
Mhm.
a
Right.
thing for the units, and we need
and
the
then there are
actual
even
label.
things like, I mean, I wouldn't call them, they're more like scales than units, but let's say things are in millions of dollars.
Yeah,
You know, pull out that million.
exactly. Yes, that would be a highly useful thing to do.
Right.
yes.
I think I think you should separate that out from the composite plots thing. I think that's a thing
Yeah,
to
it
do
is
with.
separate. It is
Okay, what's
separate.
it called? What's it called
I
here?
mean, it's
Right now in here, you guys called it supporting units. I don't, you know,
Oh,
whatever.
well, I
I'm
mean,
sorry. I'm
and
sorry. I'm sorry. I was missing. Yes, right.
and
Okay.
it's not, you know, necessarily enumerated in this notebook, but it's also part of the scene overhaul for axes and ticks and whatnot. That,
All right.
axes get additional, sorts of
All right.
properties for that.
Okay. Can I add here, and we should add it to GPL, the broken axes thing?
Yes,
Scale break.
I meant to add that and got editing other things and forgot about it. So
Okay. So Glory, can you make sure that gets added? Scale breaks.
Yes.
I think this one is being hibernated, the dashboards thing.
okay.
Diagrammatic video generation. I really would
That
like
wasn't
to
for
do.
this team right now anyway. You started a different team for that.
No, I
Didn't you?
didn't.
You mean the dashboard?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, the dashboard.
Yes,
You did.
and we killed it.
Okay.
Diagrammatic video generation. I think we should do some experiments here. See whether there's something reasonable we think we can do. And I don't know exactly who that should be, and it might be a different team.
I think Charles has thought about those more, hooking up to,
Okay, was
a physics engine type thing.
Well, that's not the only. Yes,
No.
that's not the only type of thing. This is
It's
diagrammatic
not the only,
video.
but it's
This
definitely
is
a direction
making
for that.
diagrams.
You also gave that project to Carlo a few days ago.
We talked about it.
Mhm.
We talked about it. I mean, each one of these teams needs to make sure that they actually have the right people and the right projects. Attached cell business. Where's that at?
That hasn't started. I mean, I think that would
That's obviously
be,
useful.
it's definitely a part of the zoomable panable.
Not really.
Well, I mean,
It could be connected to that, but it's not. They're not directly related.
they're not directly related, but I think that the attached cell would be an obvious interface to the panable.
Yes, I agree with that.
What else would you intend to be in the attached cell?
The same kinds of things
As
we
a
have
for
for
example.
images. Yeah, right. I mean, the same, like coordinate selection, those kinds of things.
Okay.
I mean, some version of the image one, or something similar to the image one.
Mm-hmm. Probably not quite as complex as that, but
So is this something that we think we need right now?
I don't think we need it immediately. I mean, it's one of those things that I think eventually we will one, but we're building stuff that may
that's underway.
be precursors to it.
The scale versus absolute, what a can of worms that is. I mean, we're going to have presumably some design review coming up.
Well, we had an idea earlier this year that we haven't had a chance to try implementing yet.
What was the idea?
So the idea was having an option, I think, at the graphics level of being able to say what the So if I have like a scaled point size of
Yes.
0.05,
Yes.
of being able to specify constraints for that in terms of
Oh
absolute
yeah, I remember that. Yes, I remember
sizes.
that. Right.
Um,
Okay. All right. Let's keep going here and go through this. I don't think there's a additional visualization types. We obviously are in process.
Yep.
Okay. Reduce the need for that. That is important. Oh my gosh. Okay. So how are we going to make progress on this one?
I mean, we probably don't have that choice, but I think that the best solution would be to not hold the input. And then the few cases where you want it to be held, you have to do
It's not
something.
going to work, Roger. It's not going to work. It's not even close to working.
So everything else is heuristic.
Yes, that's what I'm asking for. That's what we're looking for.
Hmm?
That's what we've been looking for several years. How about we actually get it done? We need to get this done. I don't know which teams need to work on it, but we need to get it done. I mean, this is something that should be a thing that the compiler folk should, because it's basically some version of type analysis or something. I'm not completely sure. It just needs, I mean, I could try and invent an algorithm for it. Is that where we're going with this? I mean, basically, it has to be kind of a junior version of the evaluator scanning the expression to find out what's going to happen. Do things have down values? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Making sense?
I mean, that's one way to do it. I mean, I can imagine other ways, but
Well, what other ways can you imagine?
so for example, I could imagine doing a sample evaluation. And
That's dangerous. We should do an analysis first because the sample evaluation could blow everything up.
how do you envision it blowing everything up? I'm just curious.
Oh, it's just going to generate lots of error messages, for example. What are you going to do? Suppress them?
Yes.
Possibly. I think that's sort of dangerous because there are things which can cache things and so on. I think, sort of speculative evaluation, unless it's properly sandboxed, is really dangerous.
Well, I mean, the idea is that, by sample evaluation, I mean that we would sample at a point that would be in the domain anyway. So, if you
I
say
understand,
plot
but
of f from x goes from 0 to 10,
right. Okay,
we're
so
going to evaluate at 0 anyway.
look, here's what we need first. There are a whole bunch of simple cases, like a table inside a plot.
Right. Table,
Things
map,
like this.
all these
Right.
things.
So, maybe we should deal with those to begin with as special cases. Maybe we should enumerate the cases. Why don't we do the following? Why don't we look for code that has plot of evaluate in it and see what's inside? You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
How about we get that done? I mean, somebody, outside your team, like Eric, for example, could do that. Scan, Wolfram language data, contents, and so on. Making sense?
Mm-hmm.
Get that information. Let's see what's inside evaluates typically. And then let's see if we can come up with a very straightforward heuristic to begin with. Maybe it gets more sophisticated after that.
Right.
Make sense?
I think that makes sense.
Okay.
I mean, because I'm sure it's going to be one of those things where
So let's make
90% of the
progress
cases
on
are
this.
table.
Yeah, okay, right.
You
It
know.
probably is. So let's make progress on this. Let's not wait and have people complain about it for another N years. Let's actually get it done. Okay, can I expect that you'll bring this back,
Yes.
okay, all right. Yeah, that's a good idea.
I believe that was your idea. So,
Oh well.
or that's, it was certainly your name. I mean, probably
Yeah, I think
people
it might
have
been
had
my
various
idea.
thoughts about it, over the years.
Yeah. So is it possible that show could have an option to do this?
I mean, show's problematic because show already has options that,
No, I understand. I'm not sure that's right, but okay.
yeah,
But is this an active thing that somebody's going to look at?
it's not the highest. I mean, it's probably, I mean, it's definitely below evaluate, and it's below some of the
Yes.
other things
Okay.
we've
All right.
looked at.
Okay. What's plot plus interval slider?
That's getting back into the um, pan
Interactive.
zoom
Yeah. Okay.
things, right? I mean, the stuff that we looked at in the global project list is not disjoint from other things in this notebook. So,
Okay. I understand. It'd be nice to have a list plot filling blah 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 setting that just fills with bars. Oh, so in other words, like a bar chart.
right.
Does seem like a reasonable idea.
Well, discrete plot has that capability.
Well,
Right.
maybe we should add
You
it
want
to
the
the other
data
one.
version of discrete plot, basically, of having that, bar sort of thing. I mean, the other place where I, come across it a lot is with the date plots, date list plot where, for every date you have a bar, with whatever height.
Right.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I mean, this is really it's both filling and you even give the point. It could just be a bar, right?
Right. Well, I mean, this is a different item than that you have on screen right now.
No, no, I know.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
opened the next thing, but I'm
Yes.
still talking about the list plot with filling.
Yes. It's filling, but as a bar, not as a line.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at discrete plot, you'll see more considerations that you might not care about.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we care about well, I mean, you get into the, is the point centered on the bars at one edge or
Yes,
the other edge, or
that's relevant.
Right. And how do you want to label? How do you want to mark it? If it's continuous to the left or continuous to the right, some people care about that.
I understand.
I mean, in
I
the case of
understand.
list plot, I
So,
don't think there is
so
continuity, but
I mean, it's possible that we'll end up needing some kind of list bar plot or something. I mean, why isn't this just bar chart?
because discrete plot is a sampling thing.
No,
Yeah.
no, I know that. I'm talking
Right.
about the list version of this, the list plot version of this. Why isn't
Because
that
bar
basically
chart
just
does
bar chart?
not have
Doesn't have a
the
quantitative x-axis.
quantitative x-axis. It's a categorical one. Right.
I see. So I'm going to claim that maybe we need some kind of list bar plot or something.
Sure. I mean, I think this is, definitely a case where, we add the functionality and then it's, we decide that actually I don't want to specify an option. I just want to say list bar plot or, date list bar plot. Um,
All
and
right. Hey,
so,
we have two comments on our live stream from Sander. He's asking about access breaks. Yes, indeed. He's also asking about some kind of axes multiplier would be useful.
this is, I think,
Oh, I
related to
see. I
what
see. Like
Roger
the
was saying
times a
about pulling out
million.
the factor of a million.
Yes, and that's not a bad name, axes multiplier. Or maybe Tix multiplier.
I mean,
Right.
I
I
think,
think I tended to think of it more as factor, as the number that you're pulling out instead of the one that you're adding in. But
Yes, fair point.
but also units,
Mhm.
it kind of goes somewhere.
Yeah, it goes with it.
Yes.
The $1 million one is kind of interesting because it's not completely because the dollar sign goes before the number. It's a
Mhm.
little less clear what you do. If it's times 10 to the 6 EUR or something, well, that also has a symbol that goes before. But
Yeah. I mean, there's interesting cases there, and I expect there will be special cases, right? Like, degrees maybe you don't need to pull those out, by default if you're pulling, where you're pulling other things
Yes.
out. If it's a short enough, small enough unit designation, then
I
having it
understand.
right there is still kind of nice.
So Sandra asks about let's do this, maybe make something here. Okay. Now Sandra says that if we go to let's increase the jitter here, and let's increase be this. And now let's go to, I can do 1,000 points. Ooh. Okay. Oh, let's increase that jitter there. So let's see, what is Sandra complaining about here? However, if you have many data points, let's say 1,000, all with a round and a list plot, that it only shows the error bars for every n data points to not overcrowd the plot. I think that's a pretty special purpose ask. Because how do you know that the data point that you definitely want to see the errors if the errors are not consistent, and 1 point out of every 5 has a giant error. I don't see wanting to elide those. Maybe I'm misunderstanding what the ask is there.
I don't think you are. I think, maybe he's thinking of cases where there's a little bit less randomness to the jitter.
Right. Yes. Ian comments, list plot and list line plot should have options to fill horizontally equivalent to filling in the vertical direction.
I think we discussed that a week or two ago.
Where practitioners plot data versus depth. Yes, we have discussed that. What did we conclude?
We concluded that yes, that would be a useful thing. And it is somewhere else in this notebook.
Okay, fine.
I think, what you want, is down at the bottom of that section. Or, sorry, this is...
Yeah, scattered density plots. It's obviously useful.
Okay, that's probably just a buggy case because it didn't know what to do with framed.
It often seems to not know what to do with framed and labeled, and you should make sure that those
work. Labels are better now. Framed is still not well handled.
Then get it well handled.
Yes. Well,
is there a problem? Or is it just a question of work?
It's just a question of, there's a million things that you could put around your graphic that, requires special handling.
Do you have a good inventory of the buggy cases?
I know, the sorts of things that you have complained about the most.
That's not really answering my question. It would be a matter of, for example, Stefan having a good testing matrix that can deal with all sorts of different cases. Right?
Yeah, if you could loop in Eric on this and come up with a good matrix, we can certainly identify what needs to be fixed.
I think this would be a very good thing to do. I don't want to be the one finding.
No, I don't think Steven wants to be the one, but different wrappers, different types of plots with different aspect ratios and image sizes.
Why don't you guys try it? Okay, doing something systematic. Pillar-like option for graphics 3D. Yes, that's a can of worms because we could have an epilogue 3D.
Epilogue, in terms of a drawing in front, drawing in back, doesn't make as much sense for the 3D case.
No, but having an epilogue is 2D, right? It's drawing into the graphics version of the thing, correct?
Well, I mean, we have epilogue and prologue, and one draws in back and one draws in front.
No, I understand, but they're still 2D, right?
Yes.
What we don't have is a plot 3D with an epilogue 3D, which adds a little sphere to place inside the scene.
Right. I mean, and that's what this item is, right?
Right. But I'm now suggesting the idea that the name could be epilogue 3D and prologue 3D to distinguish it from the standard epilogue and prologue, which are 2D.
Well, I mean, and my point is that
There is no before and after. It's just in.
right.
I understand that epilogue 3D and prologue 3D are the same thing.
Exactly. It's just extra 3D.
Well, we could have epilogue 3D. Yeah,
Okay.
that would be my immediate suggestion. Rule plot needs layout options.
That
You
just
put
needs
some things in there.
we have something in place. I need to make sure that the docs are updated.
Okay.
And then we'll probably do something more comprehensive going forward with, more association parameters and
Okay. Labeling size and clustering tree. I don't know, without seeing an example, I don't know what the issue is.
I mean, I think the main thing is that it just doesn't support it, and so it picks a size, and sometimes it's okay, and sometimes it's too big.
Right. I've seen those. Right. And all the labels crash into each other. And what we really need to do, okay, is to have a way to riffle those things. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do not understand. Expound.
Yeah, let me show you an example. Find one. Hold on. My trusty source of many examples. Where is this? It's hard to remember which year things were done. Wow, that was 2022. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Here we go. Okay, see here? These are all on the same level, but they've been riffled.
I see. They're flipping up and down to not collide.
Right. I mean, I think I might have a better example of that. Yeah, there we go. Those are a couple of examples of that. Here.
So out of curiosity, and I don't know if you remember, so that's like a computed plot layout to move them up and down? I mean, graph layout?
I assume so, yes. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, we can see what it actually does. It might be hidden inside some functions. Laugh. Riffle levels. What will do it? So we could see if that can be mainstreamed. I don't know. I mean, I do think that following our plot grid example, I do wonder whether there are kind of modifiers, for example, for graph layout, where you can say, some modification of the graph layout, and then it gets it kind of melts inside, if you get what I'm saying.
That's an interesting idea. I'm not sure I know enough about how the graph layouts are done too.
Right. I mean, we have already, one of the things is layered graph,
right.
which I think is a melting thing. But I hadn't really thought of this idea. Like, for example, you could put a wrapper that says, keep these things apart, or bring these things, align these things, or something, some specification of what you want. That could either be, I mean, maybe the right way to do that is just with a graph with an option. because it is easy to apply a graph with an option to a graph.
Right.
Okay, label and call out in graphics. Yes, yes, yes.
And then the last one is, related back to the scaled
talked about this
absolute,
last time.
constraint option
Right.
thingy.
Right.
So,
Right. Okay. Anything else we should go over today?
I don't think so.
Okay, very good. All right. Talk to you all soon.
Talk to you later.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.